Meeting called to order. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have two sets of minutes, yes. And the first set of minutes was from our February 8th meeting. And I'm happy to allow time for people to review it because February 8th seems like a long time ago. But basically, the meeting made a decision on meeting with the attorney.
And Valerie made a point that she was not present at the meeting, so I have to change that. So that's a correction.
Who was not there, Gloria?
Valerie wasn't present at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So when I saw her come out of the back room, I thought she was present at the meeting.
Okay.
But she really wasn't, so that's a correction.
So that is the change.
That's one correction.
Okay. All right. But that is the meeting that we met with Attorney Hewitt and decided how we would move forth. Was there, if there's no corrections or
just that one
changes?
Correction.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay, and then one correction is about Valerie. Then our meeting on February 15th was a special meeting called to review the letter that the attorney had put together and all of the details, and thank you very much for putting together. Thanks, Renee, for doing it. I won't go through all the list, but hopefully everybody will memorize all the things we're hoping to negotiate and have it right in your head. A motion by Don.
Motion to accept the minutes. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Great. Okay, the meeting tonight has a, I think it's very important that we look at our plans for an open meeting. And here we go. And let me tell you why. I had a conversation the other day with David Cole, who's been very active with the Internet Advisory Committee, and he wanted to catch up on what we were doing, and feels very strongly that with a second vote at town meeting to approve a municipal light building, yeah,
It's a plan.
yeah, that they will be moving very quickly, because our early conversations when we started the renewal process was that the work of that committee would probably be way down in a time frame that we wouldn't have to worry about. We're looking for a contract to get signed by June that'll have a 10-year lifespan. But looking back at the contract that we are working under right now, which we may work under for another 6 months until the new contract is signed, and will probably exist in the new contract, reads, and this is just brief because I don't think we need all the word. The issuing authority agrees that any grant of additional franchises or license by the issuing authority to any other persons to provide cable services, video services, or other television services using any system of technology requiring the use of the public's right-of-way shall require that services be provided for the same territorial area, be competitively neutral, so on and so forth. This is on page 9 of the current contract. And I'm very concerned about holding an open meeting April 12th unless we get clarity on this, because it would be complicated for our committee to be saying one thing and another town committee to be saying that this would be all open for whatever you were able to arrange. You know, the statements that I've heard is that once it's put in place, you call your own, you work out your own arrangements with a cable company. I haven't heard anything specific. Now, you may know more because you've been very active with that group.
I'm not sure I followed
Okay.
all of that.
The process of my conversation was that once the new system is in place,
Yeah, that's.
which is
that's-
all really
that's-
about internet at this point.
Yeah, that's, years from now.
According to David, it's going to be much sooner than that. And that's, I think, where we have to
Well,
start the
the-
conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't run any cables or anything, only between the municipal buildings.
He's saying that up at the north end, they're all ready to go, there's grants.
they're already
I think-
running cable.
I think more of this information has to be unfolded, but my concern for us is we've scheduled a date of
Well-
April 12th to have a town meeting, a public meeting.
On renewal of the present contract.
Yes, and if there is pieces that we don't totally understand or have background, even though it's another committee's point, I think we have to be very careful that we really understand what we're gonna present. So let's step 3 steps back. This is what I've been trying to get information. I haven't heard back from the
What that means
attorney.
is, anybody can run a line on the poles with the permission from the utility company.
But the price has to be the same. Anything, the contract says that whatever is being charged has to be the same. It's not a direct alignment, but it is a question that I think we could start to hear
What do you
at
mean by,
a public
Who
meeting.
do we ask?
I think our lawyer probably should ask, and I did send it to Renee, because he's been sort of the contact. But my real bottom
Renee
line
is on
question,
that. Renee is on that committee.
I think I did send it,
But,
I think I emailed to you, I think. But I
that,
will.
because Charter provides cable, phone, and internet. That, with the new people that are running the line, the public utility,
This information, Don, right
Yeah.
here, is in the contract.
right, but it's just for cable TV. Internet was not in that old contract, or the phone was not in that contract.
What I think getting specific makes it more complicated than I should have done.
Right.
What I'm saying is, I think we have to know as much as possible about the future on April 12th, because I think we'll have questions from all different directions. And I do think, since the town meeting is going to vote, make the second vote to approve this municipal light plan that would tie it all together, and that plan would promise that everybody could find their own cable source. That's the promise.
Right.
That we might be asked that. We can take 3 steps back and say, April 12th,
but
Wednesday,
there-
April 12th was a date that we picked for
The
a public
hearing.
meeting.
No, don't call it a town meeting, public hearing.
Public, yeah. public
Because the
meeting.
town meeting, they could say anything they want. They could say, they want to bring sewers into the town. Public hearing is specific on just the cable issue,
Yeah.
contract.
Well, it's
So
a
we have to call it a public hearing, not a town meeting.
public meeting,
Public hearing,
public hearing.
not a town meeting, because they can bring up anything there. It has to be a public hearing specifically about the Charter Spectrum contract.
Renewal. So my bottom line question is, do you feel that we have enough information and background to be able to continue to make April 12th a date, or should we make it a little later in the month and have our meeting? April 12th is the day we meet as a committee,
Right.
and so we're not going to have a committee meeting if we're going to have that public meeting that night, or public hearing.
I'm sorry, I'm getting lost.
Sorry, I'm
thought-
probably
I thought
losing
Ed,
it.
You know, we set a date of April 12th for the public meeting. That would be the
Hearing.
public hearing. That would be a meeting of this committee in which we hold a public hearing.
But we would open it and advertise it to the public. So
course.
we expect people to be attending.
Maybe. We've done this before, and we had two?
3 people.
I know, I know,
So,
I know.
okay, so,
But if we
so we
have,
have a public hearing, then, what is your concern about the internet?
my concern is that the people who are making that happen have an understanding of how it's gonna move forward, which our lawyer doesn't know anything
Well,
about.
we could,
It's in
I suppose it would be simple to inform them that that's going on, but we still have an obligation to hold a public hearing on the renewal of the contract, the cable contract.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know we're broadcasting this, but I love David dearly, and, you know, but he always sees the glass as half full.
Yeah.
And
No, he doesn't even know this. This is something that I found going back and looking in the contract. My conversation with the committee representative was about what they could make available, how things might change.
But I don't think the municipal light plan you know, we have the town meeting and we have the vote in April, the election, and then we have the town meeting in May, and our contract is up in this
June.
present contract in June.
It
Okay.
hopefully will be
So-
signed in
So,
June.
you know, I think it would be unbelievable to think that they, you know, first of all, that they would have the system in place. I think that's an impossibility, because they don't,
Absolutely.
there's no budget. So there has to first be a town meeting to actually appropriate money to do that. And then secondly, when the internet cable goes in, are they gonna carry, like, do I get the Channel 10 news on
My
that?
conversation was a lot deeper than I'm reporting today, but the reality is they have a website called westportfiber.com,
Yeah.
which is where I went on and began to identify the fact that
Are
costs.
they gonna broadcast, you know,
Now, did the lawyer know
channels
about
news?
the other,
I think what I would,
the Power and Light thing, going to put their own cable in, not cable, you know, internet, high-speed internet?
we have moved forward on the renewal. We have come up, I think, with a really good contract proposal. We've been thorough about negotiating, you know, the details that we wanted to make. But I think what we need to have a better understanding of what's being promised or made available. At least somebody on our committee needs to have some understanding for the open meeting, and that's what made me start to think maybe we don't have all the information we need.
Well, we said that at the beginning, that these are 2 different trains going down separate tracks, parallel, so we have to continue what our job is. That might happen, it might not happen, so we have to go on forward getting
I agree.
Yeah. But I think we need to know more information about.
And maybe we'll find out
I
by
would
April
ask you
12th.
all to look at the westportfiber.com website to see how it's being promoted as a wonderful opportunity for the community and the ability to make choices.
I got all that,
Okay.
but I don't think, as wonderful as it's gonna be, if I wanna watch Channel 2, it ain't gonna be on that thing.
I don't know, we don't know.
If I wanna sit down and watch the news, I need this contract to see Channel 2.
We need to be really comfortable when we have a meeting with the public that we can say that very clearly. So I will ask you to state, because I think that question could be asked. Can I go and pick somebody else? Can I, you know, once this is in place, can I go to another competitor and make
Right.
that my choice?
See, what it is now, that old contract is just cable TV, period. Internet didn't exist, phones didn't exist.
Yeah,
So
I
the new
understand
contract, we're gonna have to break it down into 3 items: cable TV, internet service, and phone service, which was not in the old contract.
And the new thing is just internet right now,
Right, there was
isn't
no
it?
internet.
What they're proposing is just internet.
So
right
actually,
now.
that contract covers cable
No,
TV.
No, I don't
only.
believe that's true. I think you should really go and look at.
So they're gonna get
website.
all the channels, the
Well, that piece,
ESPN, the.
Valerie, that piece of detail, I don't think in any way has been looked at. The answer is you'll be able to have a variety of choices that you can make, and there's money being allocated that would be able to support your work, or at least whatever. That's all been, there's a
What is that?
budget being created. We
Well, I don't
have, we have
understand how you get
no
the other
input in
channels,
that.
the cable, how you get,
It made me
We're-
aware that
we're-
maybe
we're-
there's,
We're asking money for her salary in
That's
this
right.
contract.
that's right.
And you think that David Cole and his committee are asking money for
I
her
think there's a
contract?
budget that would provide that funding to come, not from the town, but to come from users fees, yes. Yes. So I think we need a little more homework, and I'm
Well,
sorry I started at the top or the bottom or the middle and I didn't have a direct, I just think that it's not a complaint in any way. I think what the town and the committee is doing is important, but I think if we're opening to the public, we need to make sure we're clear. So what I'm gonna ask is that we get the lawyer informed, and if you're comfortable that we will be prepared to answer questions about
Well,
the contract.
Let's do this.
Okay,
Why don't, today, why don't you, if you can, why don't you write the attorney and say, we just want to make you aware that in the upcoming ballot, that there's a municipal light plan to provide internet service to the town. And that municipal light plan, for the people listening, is really a term of art that goes back into almost the early 1900s, when the municipalities generated electricity, to serve
Right.
the municipality, and so there are towns that have municipal light plans.
we lived in one.
And it was strictly to provide, Braintree actually had a power plant, and it still has, and they provide the cable service in the town. So I think we can, if we, and you cite this passage, I still don't know what the
I didn't
conflict is.
bring the contract, I have copies, this is our contract, but I have the copies of the current contract. I will get you that page, so you all can read it.
So,
And
but-
it basically says whatever happens has to be competitive with what Charter is offering, which would make sense. If I had a contract with somebody to provide services, I wouldn't want somebody to come in and undercut what I was doing. So, but we have to make sure that's understood by all parties going
Well,
into
why don't
this.
you-
If we
why don't
rescind.
you write the attorney and just make him aware of that?
Okay.
So what do they feel, that if we have all the fiber in place, another cable provider would want to come in?
I think this new service provides a new structure and new opportunities. Clearly, faster internet was at the top of the list of what was looked. But other services that people are using, the final answer, the bottom line, is not in place at all, because the town still has to support the birth of the baby. I mean, we're just really at the very, very beginnings of it. But we are moving forward and going to invite the public to come in to talk about what has been submitted or what will be negotiated.
So I think if you would, Madam Chairman, write the attorney and tell him that this is going on.
Okay,
And we don't know if this is going to represent, I guess there's a question in that, right? Other than, hey, I want to let you know that this is happening.
That's it.
You have a question.
Right.
And is that question, we don't know whether or not this would create a conflict with the contract negotiations.
Right.
Okay, so you asked that question. Then I think we talked to Renee, who's on
Right.
the Internet Committee, and ask him, is it the plan of the, if this passed, is it the plan for the Internet service to, build a Skylink or something and be able to get satellite? I mean, what is it, what's going to be running on this service? And
Or at least see how
runs it?
far down the line anyone can answer that. If he was here, I did email him, but he's out of town, he won't be back. But I wanted us to feel like we were prepared with this information before we said, come in and talk to us about the contract that is in process, that is being hopefully negotiated by June, that will carry us another 10 years. That's what's going on right now. We're asking the...
Well, I think they're almost like Open Cape. They run a line from Provincetown to Providence and to Boston. Weiss is tied into them for high-speed internet. All that is high-speed internet. There's no TV.
That's
no
right,
nothing.
there's nothing.
It's just a high-speed internet service we call Open Cape. They're out of
Yep,
the Cape. And this is, I think it's going to be the same thing. It's not going to be a TV service or a phone service. It's going to be just
That's not totally clear to me.
not
If
totally
you're
clear.
right,
That's what I've
fine.
heard. They're going to be just like Open Cape, another high-speed internet service, period. No TV, no phone, just high-speed internet. And that is by, federal government is pushing for rural areas, bringing high-speed internet. They're paying the freight on it. Federal government's spending a lot of money on it. That was all Open Cape with $30 million about 5 years ago from the federal government to set it up on the Cape.
I mean, that line is actually buried in
Right.
Route 6.
Okay. I will also ask Renee to get clarity on the intentions based on the website and based on what's on the town website about, and so that we at least have a general understanding of these two trains might be meeting up the road someplace, and I think right now we see these two trains going straight down the tracks and ending up at different stations, but we don't know
I think
that.
they need to put out what their long-term,
Yeah.
what the plans are.
Another thing, most of these
Let's go
companies are
back.
nonprofit.
Long-term
Let's go
plans.
back to what we have to do for April 12th, because I did promise you we've got plenty of time but we still need to be able to think about. April 12th is our meeting, so if we
What time
have,
did we decide on?
if
I
we
can
have
advertise.
business that I think is important, we should all be here to do that at 5:30. What we're talking is
The
the
meeting
public
is at
would be
6.
invited in at 6 o'clock. That's what we
Yeah.
had originally said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm planning to write a couple articles for the paper once we get ahead of that. John has been asked to put together some behind-the-scenes video footage of Valerie
I'm
at
doing a
work
little
and-
bit too.
Good. And hopefully we'll be able to show that on the wall that says, this is what you don't see. This is what we have in the way of equipment and people and process. We have the video he did for our last meeting, which is really about Westport's a great place. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it's a lovely video that ends with a very happy young high school student saying, I didn't know there was such a thing as film, and I took the course. And I am now ready to go to Hollywood. She was just ready to go. That's nice, but I think the reality is we're talking about keeping what we have and expanding on it. So we'll hopefully have a video that talks about that. Then I think we'll need to introduce the evening. And Bob, you're really good at that. So why don't you plan on helping us to sort of present to the 4,200 people that fill this room.
I'm used to speaking to large crowds.
We're going to promote this. We're going to say donuts and cider. Anyway, because I think the evening has to have a format because it will have to with questions. And I'm not sure how we want to handle discussion or the rest. You have suggestions on how we can take, and I know you all have an image of a very small, quiet group of people, but we really should be prepared for 2 or 3 people that have some serious concerns. Once we present the fact that we have a contract or renewal, how deep should we go into the proposal itself, or just talk about the process?
I think the mechanics of the renewal are really in the hands of the attorneys. It's a contract negotiation, and I don't think that's the purpose of the public hearing.
Yeah.
The purpose of the public hearing is to have the public's input into what they would like to have in the way of cable TV service. And also because we're a required committee under the contract to hear complaints. So it's two purposes. If you have complaints, we're the people who are supposed to hear them, and if we can get them resolved. And then number 2, we are in the midst of renewal of the contract. What would you like to have for services under the new contract? And not the nuts and bolts of on page 13 it says this. That's, and I think that's all it's really in the hands of the attorneys.
If you would start off sort of outlining that, I think Renee has been involved up close. I think he can add. And then I think I will ask for questions or concerns, and those members of the board that are there who feel best able. I mean, you really have paid attention to the technical improvements and things, if you can answer. What I don't think we should do is prolong it into tiny details. I think we should try to let all questions be answered and then allow people to wrap it up in a way that if they have more questions, they can come back. But again, how do you feel we should wrap up the evening? With a sort of a targeted time, or just let it go with the flow?
It depends on how big the meeting is, but I think we should listen to the people who want to speak, and then thank them for their input. We're going to consider all this, and we will forward their comments. Assuming we get productive comments, we'll forward them to our attorney who's negotiating the contract.
Okay, I think that's a great wrap up. I do. I think that's important for people to hear, that they will get forwarded.
We are listening, and we'll forward theirs.
Okay. Do you think we have an adequate outline for you to feel comfortable with this public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we still have any on the 12th, or?
Yes. We haven't, no one has felt that we won't be prepared for the 12th, and that's what I wanted to make sure that
we're going to have it in this room right here?
Yes.
Okay.
And Valerie, you'll make sure we have
time frame?
The whole room, right?
Time frame, start time.
We will all be here at 5:30, and between now and then I'll know whether we have any serious agenda issues that we have to discuss before, but we'll be prepared for people to arrive at 6.
6.
And I will ask people to sign in, and I will stand at the door and make sure we do that so that we know who's attended. I have all the paperwork that we accumulated the January we started.
Now, could somebody do some posters up and I can put them out? I went to Cozy Nook. They'll let us throw a poster up there.
I'll make you posters.
Right.
I promise.
Get them to me and I'll get them out.
Okay.
The library will do it for us. The Leisure got a bulletin board.
How many are you going to need?
Say a dozen.
Okay, all right.
I've got, this over here, we got a bulletin board. Town Hall has, I think, 2 bulletin boards, 1 on each floor. That's 3. Cozy Nook is 4. The library,
Okay.
and a few other places. Just
All right. Over the next week, I will get myself
just
busy.
email to me and I'll print them out.
Okay. You want me to, you don't want me to email, you want hard copy posters? You
Yeah,
don't want
I'll
an
print them
email?
out.
Okay,
You just send an email,
all right,
you know, and
all
I'll
right.
print it out from the email.
You're making it very easy for me. Any other questions to come before the esteemed group here tonight? We are very special because
Now,
we are
the
the,
post office, we can't do that because they don't have a bulletin board.
yeah, well, you find a
And then
place.
they don't want to really get involved because it's, you know, federal government with the small.
No, I think if you can get them around and I can get an article or two in the paper, we should be okay. And Bob will come back and check up on us and see if we've done our work, right?
Yes, I won't be, I will be engaged for the next 3 weeks plus or so.
And we won't feel badly for you.
No, don't, be neither jealous or
No, I'm not even gonna talk about it.
or
The
worried.
pain would be too much.
Or worried.
Is there any other important business
No.
to come before the
All
group
set.
today? Well, thank you all.
I'll
Thank
make
you
a
very
motion
much.
to adjourn the
Would
meeting.
you- we have a guest tonight. Would you like to add or make any comments to our meeting?
I do have some observations and a couple of questions.
Well, if you want to come closer to the
Yeah.
table, your mask
Pull-
and your,
pull a chair.
you know, we're here and we really need to practice talking with the public, so share. Your
My
name?
name is Carrie Cooner.
Karen?
Carrie.
Karen.
I'm named after Cary Grant. That helps.
I have a terrible time with the hearing through a mask, so there's lots of help here if I don't hear you clearly.
My first question is why are we renewing with Charter Spectrum?
And the answer to that question of why are we only talking to Charter, since the Charter is the only one who will talk to us.
Yeah.
And I mean that sincerely. Charter has hung all of the cables that the cable TV comes in, and they've made that investment, and nobody else is interested in coming in because of the size of the town. Two things, the population in the town and the number of subscribers, which is dropping, and the actual physical size of the town. We're roughly 12 miles by 5 miles. So to have a competitor come in, they have to run, they would have to run all new cables to provide the
Right.
service.
A little more history about it. The cable in town is 25 to 30 years old. Most of it is not replaced. And they call RF leakage.
I
It's
understand.
radio, you know what RF leakage is?
Yeah.
There's a lot of RF leakage out of the cable in town. And it would cost 15 to 20 mil to replace the cable in town. They're doing a piecemeal. And by federal law, they have to inspect for RF leakage once a year. They're required. We don't know if they're doing it. We're gonna try to pull, we seek a rep from Charter, which we can't seem to get anybody to come over to talk to
I
us.
saw that in the
It's
last
not,
meeting, yeah.
it's not a
Right.
competitive market,
They-
that's what
See,
Right.
you're.
the closest Spectrum Charter is Dudley, Mass., which is like 80 miles away in Worcester area. They go Worcester south, or I mean west and north. But we're like, you know, the rear end of their system.
So,
And they've
There
been,
is an 80-mile line that runs in here from Oxford, Mass. Is where the server is. The signal comes in from Oxford to here. That's internet, phone, and cable. So that's our issue. They don't want to really spend the money.
Yeah.
And nobody else wants to come in here because of the cost.
they've been on
They
it
would have
20
to
years
rewire
ago.
I'm all
Cox
for
or
the new wire,
Yeah.
Cox or Comcast would have to rewire the whole town
yeah.
to get up to their standards. And do it over the head of the station because they'd have to have new equipment to match their transmission.
Yes, I
And why
understand.
we have, I just had showed them this is Auburn, Mass. They get 35 more channels than we do for a silver package for the same price.
See, I only purchased
And that's
internet.
because, you know, it's basically
This
a
is,
bigger population.
this is the cut from, right off Star's website for Auburn, Mass., which is outside of Worcester. It's like 35 more channels than we get for the same price.
It's not a straightforward competitive kind of thing, like you go to different car dealers to pick out a car and
Right.
get all the, you
I
know,
just- I
specials
didn't
in one.
understand
You
why that
really
was-
have, and people have been concerned about that for a long time, but the contract as originally written says if somebody's gonna come in, they've got it, they can't just do, you know, undercut us and use all of our
I
equipment.
do know
And
that
that's
there
part of what we were just talking
are
about
a
tonight.
few Westport residents that do have Comcast, but they did have to pay for the line to be run to their house.
Well, there's another thing,
I think that's what you
Yeah.
mean, that page
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
what Charter does, they get this, I got an email from them, I'll put the piece here.
You know, it's not, they're not bad guys, it's a business, and
I know what the-
they
the
make
old
an investment,
technology.
but they're not good guys either, because they've got a captive audience. So, you know, I have big conversations about how does business work. But I think what our job is, as a town volunteer committee, and the selectmen's job, is to try to keep them their feet as close to the fire as we can, and that's what we have
Right.
a professional
They send
lawyer.
these mailings out. Charter does. But I was told 99% of the people ignore it.
That's interesting.
Now, about 3 months ago, I got an email from Charter. He wanted to send a technician to the house. They did. He spent 3 hours there, no charge. Replaced all the connectors, new cable from the outlet on your wall to the box, a new line in from the pole to the house, new splitters, everything. 3 hours, no charge. Then he found out I had a problem with my modem. I was only getting 100 megahertz.
Yeah.
Megabits. I was supposed to get 3. They sent me a new modem overnight out of upstate New York. It was supposed to go online, but they had an issue with their automated, so call a tech. I called the tech. In 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, he had me up to 360
Wow.
with a new modem. And the guy told me, they mail these out to people. People ignore them.
Yeah, that probably got thrown in my recycling.
You know what I
It looks
mean?
like an ad.
So there's another issue where people are complaining, and a lot of their modems are outdated. All they have to do is replace it, problem solved. But you have to educate the people to get it done. And you saw right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna
They're doing
look
the
into it
job.
when I go home and see, yeah.
We need to
And-
make sure that you do a small presentation, maybe we can video about that for
Right.
our open meeting.
Yeah, when
because
was,
I think we
John
need-
was supposed to do that, never got around
Yeah.
to it, so.
We, you know, we just don't have a leverage as the size town we are to make everything happen as we would if we were Worcester. But what we are trying to do this time is to really reinforce what we all learned during COVID. We really need the community TV. We need the access to what's happening in our town government. Bob Daler's been wonderful about making sure we really articulate that along with all the technical requirements. We need people to understand that without having access, and now because it's part of education for students, the kids at the high school are learning to use the equipment, and they are making their own films. The basketball girls and the girl
I-
basketball
I've seen
are
these.
winners right now, and they're being videoed, so you
I
don't
share
have to have a
them
kid in
I have a
school.
small
You know,
Westport
and
group.
the
I share
candidates'
them.
night will be recorded. These are really important services that the town most likely, and I would bet money on, I'm not a gambler, would not bother to have the equipment or the staff or the people to do so that you and I could watch that basketball game, or, you know, we could watch him at the planning board until whatever hour at night you stay. We want to stress that, because I think sometimes it's seen as a freebie, as a giveaway, that you can actually hear, like you did, this committee meeting, and I think it keeps us all accountable. I
And
think
what's,
it's really important.
what's really important out of the cable contract is that we get 2 tranches of money in the old contract, and we're negotiating for an increase in those. And the money's come in 2 ways. It's all paid by the ratepayers, but a contract, under the contract, we get presently 3.5% of the revenue comes back to pay for salaries of 2 people to run the local community TV. And we got 200,000 and 2 bites to
Over 10 years.
provide equipment to run the programs. So the servers and everything that run the local program, the TV cameras, all that stuff, none of that's provided by the town, that all came out of the contract. And we will negotiate the same type of benefits in the new contract as well.
So the equipment that you see in this room, here, there, because this room is used a lot for meetings, all provided out of the contract,
Very
the
nice.
funds that were collected. So it's, I think, important to take a look at that, because I just don't believe that that would come out of the direct budget from the town. I think this has to be.
There's one scary thing. They should write the cable company, say Cox, Comcast, and the other, and Spectrum, I get the second largest now, trying to push through Congress that they will control all this. Not these committees. They would say what you'd get.
I understand.
To try to pass a bill that they would have complete access, instead of doing away with these committees here, they would have control. So much money, they would buy the equipment and supply it. You would have no control, like Valerie or somebody, they would hire who they want.
Yeah, and there is state
That's a bill that was
legislature
kind of squashed, but they
State
keep pushing it in every
legislation
so often in
and,
Congress.
and federal
People
legislation.
will know about it.
No, there is outside regulations, both from the state and from federal government. And Representative Markey, somebody's looking for me. I think there's another meeting tonight. But, you know, we're given guidance.
Right.
Excuse me. I think it's my husband. Hi. Hold on. I think that you're looking for another meeting, correct? Yeah, I'll meet you up at the school, okay? Thanks. Bye. I thought we'd have a quick meeting and be out of here by 6, so I could drive home and pick him up, but. Thank you, I'm glad you came.
Yes, thank
And if
you.
you want to
What
come back
question do you have?
again, don't hesitate.
Well, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Good.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Thank you very much.